Katrina from Gateway VA. I'm really pleased to have you here, and thank you for being our VA in the spotlight. It's always good to have somebody come through and tell us about their experiences and talk about getting started, because a lot of people are curious to know how it actually works in the real world. So let's jump right in, shall we?
Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. Okay, so tell me about, when did you actually get started? When did you launch your business?
I launched my business in February 2022.
Right.
Yeah, so just over 2.5 years ago.
Few years ago. Gosh, actually, that's gone quick, hasn't it?
Very fast.
All right. So tell me a little bit about looking back, what was the catalyst for you getting into the whole VA world?
So like a lot of VAs, I'm sure, it was my kids. My daughter was starting kindergarten soon, and I wanted to be there for, the awards at assembly and the athletics carnival, and not have to send her to before and after school care every day. And I just wanted to be more around for my family at this time. I've got 2 young kids, so
Yeah. And so how was that played out? Has that worked really well for you?
yes, absolutely. I feel that I can go to all the things. I always feel sorry for the kids that, no one's there. And I know that can't be helped a lot of the time, but I'm glad that I found a solution to being able to work and be there for my family.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it does end up being one of those great benefits of actually being running your own business, because you get to actually, hopefully, you make it work for you.
Absolutely.
You want to make sure you set your boundaries, right? So let's talk about the background that you had in like traditional employed roles, and how did that kind of feed into what you're doing now, and what are you doing now?
Yep. So I worked for law firms for 17 years as a legal EA before I started my VA business. I worked in small, mid, and top tier law firms in Sydney, Melbourne, and London. And in my last corporate role, I also was the office manager. So I sort of came out of my corporate role thinking I had all these skills. And then I walked into the big wide world of owning your own business, and there was a lot more to learn. But I did find that all of my skills have been transferable along the way. When I first started out, I was mainly just offering like legal admin support. But now I'm still offering that, but I also do NDIS admin support, which I'm loving. And it's been a nice change.
Oh, wow. So how did that end up happening for you?
I met a mental health nurse at a local networking event, and started working for her. And then I saw I think it was on a virtual momentum call with Naren Chappell from Positively Sorted. Yes, so she was starting out doing a NDIS VA Success Hub. So I joined that and started learning more about the NDIS and had a real interest in it. And yeah, I've just loved that whole area, and there is so much work in that area. So I feel like it's opened up a lot of doors for me. And yeah, I just enjoy offering the legal side, which is what I know, and then also having a challenge of learning all the NDIS stuff.
Yeah, wow. That's great. Like, that's a really great service to add to your little suite of services. Amazing. And that's interesting. So how long ago did you change your services, like to add that in?
At the beginning of this year, so 9 months ago, pretty
Yeah,
much.
right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome. Oh, that's a good development. Um, so thinking back 2 and a bit years ago, how long did it take you to get your first client? And actually, how did you get your first client?
Yep. So my very first client was actually someone I'd worked for as an employee,
Right.
and I was helping run a litigation trial. So I ended up in the office more than a virtual assistant should be in the office. Um, but after that, it took me about 2 months to get my first proper VA client, and that was through the Facebook page, the subcontracting and networking Facebook page.
Yep.
And it was a VA agency posted up for a job for a lawyer in Melbourne. And I applied for it and got it. And
Wow.
yeah, I still work for that client now. The VA agency isn't around anymore, but yeah, I still work directly with her.
Right. Okay. So, in terms of that particular strategy, actually, it's really interesting, because we always say to people, and you would have heard me say this a few times too, that it's always good to reach out to past employers and people that you've worked with, because that can result in work, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so was that already set up when you were launched or before you were launched,
I
or?
knew that was there. So that's what I just launched straight in full time into my VA business, but that only because I knew that I had 6 months of continuous work. Well, I didn't know it was going to be 6 months at the time, but it turned out to be 6 months.
That's good.
Yeah, so it allowed me to throw myself straight into it.
And look, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a bit of a hybrid role too, in terms like you were able to do it. So there's no rule that says, oh, you're a virtual assistant, so you can only operate online. And
No.
because you are Sydney based, it would make sense if you can actually be there to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a client now too who's local to me. This lives 10 minutes away, and we meet once a week in person
Yep.
for coffee and work together then. It's just really nice to get out of the office sometimes as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you don't have to lock yourself into this only being available online. That's a
No.
smart move, actually. Um, so tell me a little bit more about finding clients, because it's always something that people get really anxious about. In fact, I've just come out of a session about finding clients, right? So what would you say would be your strategy, or what you do consistently to find clients? And what's been the secret, I guess, in terms of you finding clients?
So I think for me, attending the in-person networking events is my main strategy. I find getting to know someone face to face a lot easier than I do online, and building that know, like, and trust with them. So I've got clients through that, and also then just like, keeping your current client relationship strong and providing that high level of service, because the word of mouth referrals through that has
Mm,
been good.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of like in-person networking, so just talk a little bit more about that. Where do you go, just like to one group, like once a month, or what's the strategy around that?
I have one group that I really enjoy going to, who are like my business family, and that's a women's networking group, local group, and we do all different types of networking with them. So I enjoy going to those ones. I do try and get to the council run ones as well. I've been to the BNI, but
Yep.
that's not really my type of networking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I prefer the ones where it's a bit more casual and it's not so intimidating, and
Yes, because we're basically introverts, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you've got to find something that I guess resonates for you, and it's got the people there that you want to be connecting with. So obviously that's been successful for you. And would
Yeah.
you say that that's built word of mouth referrals, do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely. So the one of my clients that I got recently, we were part of the same group, but I hadn't actually been at an event at the same time as her. But she just was talking to someone else and said what her issues were, and they said, "Well, you should contact Katrina." And there we go, connection
How
made.
amazing. That's so good. And that, it's exactly what we say. It's about getting out there, but also it's a nice activity for you to do in your business, because you actually get out of your home office and have a little bit of fun, really, because that's what it
Yeah,
is.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fun. Okay, so let's talk about, obviously you mentioned that one of the Facebook groups, which is that collaboration and subcontracting group, was a really good source for you to find a client initially. But has there been any other like community and connection opportunities that you found particularly valuable, apart from, your face-to-face networking?
Um, Other than networking, probably just being active on LinkedIn. That's sort of where my lawyer clients hang out.
Yep.
And yeah, showing up every now and again on social media, which I could do better at, but
I think that's
right.
something we all struggle with, yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. So Katrina, how has the VA Institute contributed to your journey?
So the VA Institute helped me initially get off the ground. I did the self-paced online startup program, and that was amazing because it set me up with everything that I needed for my business, and sort of gave me all these tools and information that I needed. And then since then, the weekly virtual momentum calls have been fantastic. There's such a wealth of knowledge in amongst like all the replays and stuff. And of course, the VA Summit has been so good. I found that after I've been to the last 2 summits, and after each one, my business just grew. And I think it was because I had more confidence in myself, and I'd met so many amazing people, which also had led to referrals like through them. And yeah, I think it's important to continue networking with other VAs as well, not just potential clients.
I mean, that's a really good point. It's not always, it doesn't always have to be out there with other business owners. It can be within your own community.
Absolutely.
That actually helps as well. Yeah, and good on you. You know, I know the summits make a difference. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep doing them. But no, we do know, because we see people grow so rapidly after the summits. So that's really great. And, you know, congratulations to you too for making the effort, because it really does. You've got to be proactive when it comes to these things. It doesn't just land in your lap.
No.
Really. I wish it did. It'd be a lot
easier. If it
easier.
was easy, everyone would do it. So
okay, so tell me, I guess, how was starting your business, and like 2.5 years ago, really, you got started. How has that changed your life?
So it's allowed me to have the flexibility that I need to be there for my family while also bringing in a bit of income. It's changed my lifestyle. So we often go away in the camper, you know, extra long weekends, and I'll just set up and work overlooking the beach. Or we did the snow this year, which was good. And, you know, I don't have to take all this time off or apply for annual leave. I can just keep on working and still enjoy, you know, life. And yeah, it's just, I think starting my own business has challenged me, which has been a really good thing. I've grown within myself, and yeah, there's a big wide world out there.
Yeah, no, it's so good. It definitely does extend you when you're running your own business, and you learn so much about yourself in the process, don't you? It's kind of like you think, oh, I'm going to get set up and I'm going to make it, I'm going to be there, but all of a sudden there's the next thing that you have to do. You're never quite there, but you're always progressing towards wherever you need to be. And I think that's really important to remember, actually. We're all the same. We're all the same. All right. So finishing up, let's wrap it up. So if someone was to come up to you and say, Katrina, what's your advice about getting started? Like, what would your key takeaways or advice be if you were talking to someone?
Probably, you know, start following all the VA pages and the VA Institute on Facebook, and get to know like what people are asking, what questions are being asked, and what roles are being offered, and what people are looking for. Definitely try and do one of the startup programs through the VA Institute, because it will just set you up completely with everything you need. I remember before I started, I sat there and listened to all the VA in the Spotlight interviews, because I found them really encouraging, like hearing other people's stories and just resonating with them. And pretty much when you do start out, don't compare yourself to others that have been doing it for years, because it can be quite overwhelming. Just, you know, stick to what you know to start with. And getting your first client's always hard, but once you get the first one, they keep on coming. Yeah, that's right. It's definitely one of those things where if you continue to do what you're doing and you don't give up, you won't fail. But yeah, you've done an awesome job, Katrina. You should be really proud of the business that you've built, and it's really lovely to watch people's businesses grow, and yours has been no exception. And we love seeing you at the summit each year, and who knows, you might come to one of our retreats one day soon. Hopefully. All right. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy. Really appreciate you giving up a couple of minutes to talk to us. And I'm sure anyone who's watching this, when we put it out as a recording, I'm sure Katrina wouldn't mind if you emailed her if you had any questions. Absolutely, reach out. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Katrina. Thanks, Ingrid.